There is a place in Russia where a single region is larger than Argentina, where winter temperatures can drop below -70 degrees Celsius, and where the ground has remained frozen since the last ice age. This is Yakutia. Covering more than 1.2 million square miles and home to just over 1 million people, it is the largest and coldest inhabited region on Earth. Here, rivers become highways in winter. Forests stretch across thousands of miles of wilderness. In Yakutia, the cold is not a challenge to overcome. It is a force that shapes every part of life. We're so glad you're here with us for this one. Yakutia is not a place many travelers ever reach, so before we go further, we'd love to know who's watching. Leave a comment and tell us where in the world you're joining us from today, and share one place you've always dreamed of seeing with your own eyes. On a map, Yakutia dwarfs its neighbors. It is the largest administrative subdivision on Earth, covering roughly 3.1 million square kilometers, larger than Argentina and nearly a third the size of the entire United States, yet folded into a single region of a single country. If Yakutia were an independent nation, it would rank among the 8 or 9 largest in the world, bigger than India. The land unfolds in bands from south to north. Southeastern mountains feed rivers that cut through stone gorges. Across the center spreads the Taiga, an ocean of large trees that turns gold each autumn before losing its needles entirely. A rare trick among conifers built to survive the cold. Farther north, the trees thin into tundra. Then Arctic desert along the Laptev and East Siberian seas. People cluster where the land allows it. The overwhelming majority live along the Lena River and its tributaries, in a scattering of towns and villages threaded through the Taiga, while enormous stretches of the north and east remain almost entirely empty. It is a settlement pattern shaped less by choice than by where the rivers run, and where the ground can be reached at all. The Lena River is Yakutia's spine, one of the longest rivers on the planet, flowing north for more than 4,000 kilometers before emptying into the Arctic Ocean through a delta of braided channels and low islands. Beyond it, the Vilui and Aldan rivers carve their own valleys through the Taiga, while the Verkhoyansk and Chersky mountain ranges fence the region's eastern edge, holding some of the coldest inhabited valleys on the planet in their shadow. Along the Arctic coast, wetlands and river deltas shift with the seasons, home to migratory geese, swans, and wading birds that arrive by the tens of thousands each summer to breed. Fishing communities here have built their calendars around the movement of whitefish and sturgeon upriver, much as their ancestors did generations ago. Leaving Yakutsk by road means leaving pavement behind almost immediately. The city gives way within an hour to open Taiga, where large trunks stand pale and thin against the snow and the horizon flattens into an unbroken line. The silence out here is dense, cold, and total, broken only by the occasional groan of ice shifting on a frozen river beneath the road. Here's a question for you before we continue. Would you rather experience Yakutia in the depths of its legendary winter, wrapped in fur at 50 below zero, or in its brief, blazing summer, when the sun barely sets and wildflowers cover ground that was frozen solid weeks earlier? Tell us your answer in the comments below. Now, let's continue our journey together. The Yakutian horse may be the single most striking symbol of survival in this land, a short, stocky breed with a thick double coat that allows it to live outdoors year-round, digging through snow with its hooves to reach frozen grass beneath. It needs no barn even in temperatures that would kill most livestock within hours, and its meat and fermented mare's milk remain central to Sakha diets and rituals to this day. Reindeer move in herds through the taiga and tundra alike, tended by evenki and even herders whose families have followed the same seasonal migrations for generations. Brown bears and wolves range through the deeper forest, while lynx move almost invisibly between the trees on wide paws built for silent travel across deep snow. Above the taiga canopy, golden eagles and gerfalcons hunt over open country, while ravens patrol the edges of towns for scraps. Ornithologists have documented well over 280 bird species across the Republic, including the extraordinarily rare Ross's gull, a pale pink tinged Arctic bird that nests in the Kolyma lowlands, and the Siberian crane, whose global population depends heavily on the marshes of northern Yakutia for breeding. Along the rivers and lakes, whitefish, sturgeon, and the prized muksun swim in waters so cold they remain nearly pristine. Sable, prized for centuries for its dense, glossy fur, still moves through the undergrowth largely unseen, while Arctic fox and wolverine track the tundra's edges. Easy to overlook but locally cherished are the snow sheep of the eastern mountains, sure-footed climbers that graze on exposed ridgelines even in deep winter, and the musk deer, which relies on a scent gland rather than antlers to mark its territory. Along the Lena's calmer stretches, freshwater seals occasionally appear far from any ocean. But nothing in Yakutia matches the scale of the ice breakup each spring, when the region's rivers split apart in a single explosive rush, sending house-sized blocks of ice crashing downstream and forcing fish, waterfowl, and land animals alike to shift their patterns almost overnight. Locals gather on riverbanks to watch it, a thunderous, days-long event that marks the true turning point of the year more definitively than any calendar date. Long before written records, the Yakutia people hunted and fished across what is now eastern Yakutia, developing deep practical knowledge of the tundra's rhythms. Evenki and even communities followed reindeer herds through the same taiga for countless generations, their languages and customs shaped entirely around a landscape most outsiders considered nearly uninhabitable. The ancestors of today's Sakha people migrated north from Central Asia around the 13th century, bringing horses and cattle into a climate that should have made both impossible to keep alive. Russian Cossacks reached the Lena River Valley in the 1620s, founding Yakutsk as a fortified outpost and staging post for expansion toward the Pacific. A conquest financed largely by the fur trade, with sable pelts once so valuable they functioned nearly as currency. Well before large-scale Russian settlement, small communities of Orthodox Old Believers had already pushed into remoter Siberian valleys, seeking distance from religious persecution farther west, and pockets of their descendants still maintain distinct dialects in isolated settlements today. Under Russian rule, the indigenous population was required to pay a fur tribute, known as Yasak, drawing Yakutia tightly into the imperial economy, even as most people remained largely self-governing day to day. Yakutsk itself became notorious as one of the empire's principal sites of political exile, remote and cold enough that banishment there was considered nearly as severe as imprisonment. Not every community submitted quietly. Sakha clans under leaders like Taiga resisted Russian incursion in the early 17th century. And though ultimately overpowered, their oral epics, the Alonko tradition, preserved memory of those conflicts for centuries, passed down through singers long before any of it was written. Arriving in Yakutsk can feel almost disorienting after the emptiness of the surrounding Taiga, a genuine city of well over 300,000 people, nearly a third of the entire republic's population, rising out of the Timada Valley on the left bank of the Lena. It is, by most measures, the largest city built on continuous permafrost anywhere on the planet, its apartment blocks standing on concrete stilts to keep their heat from thawing the ground beneath. From above, Yakutsk spreads out in low blocks of pastel, painted Soviet-era housing beside newer glass and steel, framed by the Lena and the modest rise of Hochur-Muran Hill. In deep winter, the city can vanish beneath a dense, human-made fog, created by heat and exhaust released into air too cold to hold any moisture. The city's historic wooden quarter still holds 19th century merchant houses and Orthodox churches with their onion domes, standing not far from Sakha spiritual sites and shamanic memorials. A physical closeness between Orthodox Christianity and older indigenous belief that mirrors how the two have coexisted in Yakutian life for generations. A short walk away, the Treasury of Yakutia Exhibition Center displays the region's mineral wealth, gold nuggets, uncut diamonds, and native platinum, while the underground Permafrost Kingdom offers a literal descent into ice-carved chambers cut directly into ground that has stayed frozen for millennia. Everyday life moves at its own pace against the extremes outside. Markets sell frozen fish stacked like firewood and horse meat displayed openly, since refrigeration is unnecessary for months at a time. Evenings bring warm, lit windows glowing against early darkness, and in summer, crowds spilling into parks and riverside walkways during the brief window when the cold finally relents. The city's central market remains one of the clearest places to watch Yakutia's communities mix in a single space. Sakha traders selling stroganina, thin curls of frozen raw fish shaved off the block, alongside Russian, Central Asian, and Evenki sellers, all trading within earshot of one another in a blend of languages. Drive even a short distance out of Yakutsk and the paved road narrows, then often disappears, replaced by packed earth in summer and compacted snow or river ice in winter. Villages grow sparser, connected less by highways than by seasonal routes that shift with the freeze and thaw of the rivers crossing them. Locals refer to this remote heartland simply as the Taiga, and as the tundra farther north, shorthand for an entire way of life defined by distance, self-reliance, and intimate knowledge of a landscape that offers little forgiveness for mistakes. Different peoples hold different corners of this world. Sakha herders dominate the river valleys and central Taiga. Evenki reindeer herders range across the eastern mountains. Even communities work the northeastern Taiga and coastal tundra. and Yukihir families remain concentrated in a handful of villages along the Upper Kolyma, one of the smallest indigenous populations left in Russia. In a small settlement like Tomtor, near Oymyakon, life centers on a handful of wooden houses banked in snow to the windowsills, smoke rising straight up in windless cold, and horses standing motionless in fenced paddocks, seemingly indifferent to temperatures lethal to almost any other domesticated animal. Villagers move between houses in quick, purposeful bursts before ducking back indoors. In rural communities, a day begins before full light, with the first task being the fire, coaxing a stove back to life after a night in which any lapse could mean frozen pipes. Livestock need checking next, housed close enough that no one travels far in temperatures that can freeze exposed skin within minutes. The frozen rivers themselves function as the region's true highways for much of the year, locally called zimniki, or winter roads, hard-packed ice routes that trucks use to reach settlements otherwise unreachable. When the ice breaks in spring, that lifeline vanishes for weeks, and smaller river communities can find themselves effectively cut off. Historically, the economy ran on fur, and later gold, with independent prospectors panning and digging through permafrost for flakes that could transform a family's fortunes in a season. Diamonds eventually eclipsed both, and the discovery of major kimberlite deposits in the 1950s turned towns like Murny from remote camps into planned mining cities. Today, the horizon is shifting again as new investment in rare earths, coal and gas draws fresh interest and fresh tension into a region whose wealth has historically flowed outward to Moscow more readily than it has stayed to benefit the people living above it. A small but growing tourism industry has also begun bringing visitors to experience Yakutian extremes. Beyond the handful of paved roads radiating from Yakutsk, travel remains genuinely difficult, dependent on river barges, winter ice roads, and small aircraft to reach settlements hundreds of kilometers from the nearest town. Small propeller planes and helicopters form the practical backbone of movement into remote districts, landing on short gravel strips that can close for days when weather turns, leaving villages waiting for a break in the clouds before mail or medicine can arrive. In some seasons, the only reliable route into a settlement is the frozen river itself, driven by truck convoys timed carefully around the ice's thickness. Mobile coverage and internet access have reached many towns along the main river routes, but service drops away quickly outside those corridors, leaving remote communities with only intermittent satellite connections, if any at all. For many who live here, Yakutia is a homeland actively claimed, shared among Sakha, Evenki, Ivan, Yukihir, Dolgan, and Russian communities whose histories stretch back anywhere from a few centuries to time out of memory. Ask people what ties them together, and the answer rarely centers on ethnicity alone. More often, it is the shared discipline of surviving a climate that offers no room for carelessness. Russian functions as the region's official language, learned by nearly everyone, while Sakha remains a living first language for much of the indigenous population, taught in schools and heard constantly in markets and homes. Evenki, Ivan, and Yukihir persist more precariously, spoken fluently mostly by older generations. Community closeness shows itself in practical ways. neighbors checking each other's chimneys during a cold snap, herders combining forces during calving season, an unspoken expectation that no one passes a stranded vehicle on a remote winter road without stopping to help, since in these temperatures that courtesy can be the difference between inconvenience and death. Mobile networks, satellite internet, and slowly expanding road and rail links are drawing even Yakutia's remote corners into closer contact with the world than at any point in its history, bringing new visibility to communities that have long operated on their own terms. Young people increasingly leave for university or work in Yakutsk, Moscow, or cities farther afield. And while many stay away, a meaningful number eventually return, citing a pull toward the land and community that life elsewhere never quite replaced. Life in Yakutia asks a great deal of the people who live it: months of relentless cold, distances that can isolate a family for weeks, and an economy that has not always returned to local communities the full value of what is taken from their land. And still, most who grow up here choose to stay, or eventually find their way back. One young woman from a village near Oymyakon left for university in Yakutsk and later spent years working in Moscow, drawn by the promise of a faster life. What she found herself missing, she has said, was a particular quality of silence, the stillness of a winter morning in her home village, broken only by smoke rising from a neighbor's chimney and horses shifting in their paddock. She returned within a few years and has said she has no plans to leave again. Evening settles over Yakutia. Yakutsk's streetlights flicker on against a sky fading toward violet, windows glowing warm above streets wrapped in fog, while a village like Tomto sits nearly silent beneath a sky dark enough to hold the full sweep of the aurora, horses still in their paddocks, smoke rising from scattered chimneys. They repeat quietly, mostly unnoticed even by the people living them, which may be precisely why they have lasted. Thank you for spending this time with us in Yakutia, a place that proves just how far human resilience and adaptation can stretch when a community decides a piece of land, however extreme, is worth calling home. If this journey moved you, please subscribe for more stories like this one, and leave a comment below telling us which country you'd like us to explore together next.